Hi, Mark Shenise from the United Methodist Church Archives. You've heard stories, perhaps for someone who is older, member of your church, or even a grandparent, or even a parent for that matter. They used to talk about mite boxes. So what is a mite box? Well, a mite box is basically a way to raise money for specific missionary endeavors, usually through the women's missionary work, whether it be the Evangelical Church, whether it be the Methodist Episcopal Church South, whether it would be the United Brethren Church, or a question of the Methodist Episcopal Church. All use these kind of I don't want to say gimmicks, use all of these boxes with different themes and what have you to raise money for mission projects. The women decided that the best way to raise money was going for the pennies, the nickels, and the dimes. And they were very successful at it. And as we know from the current United Methodist women, that they did raise a lot of money and did a lot of great work on the mission field over the years. Groundbreaking work. For example, were instrumental in ending foot binding in China through some of the money that you would raise through the gifts of these boxes. Now, these are targeted, for the most part, for children, and they're age appropriate, like this one, the Little Heralds. It's for kindergartners, and you can see that it looks like a cradle. And it has lovely floral work and stuff on it to be very appealing to small children. Little kids, and even older kids at this point, love to fill these boxes. It was a sense of accomplishment in being able to give back to the church to help other children around the world who were in great need. And this is how they fund it. So they target it by age group as well. And you can see that here. The other theme that you find in all these boxes that is true no matter what the denomination is, they are illustrating in a small way the mission work overseas. They illustrate the kinds of persons that they were trying to help on the mission field in order to give more money to the work. For example, this nice red box here, this is from the mission band of the Women's Missionary Society of the Evangelical Church. So it's after 1922. Look here, you've got the Chinese word for happiness. You've got a picture of a smiling little Japanese girl here. You have less than smiling, but still cute in her own way, Chinese woman here, child. And of course, again, this one saying happiness. And it goes on again for Korean and Filipino. So this would have covered all of the East Asian missions that the Evangelical Church were involved with. And by putting money in these banks, your pocket change or whatever, and even children would tithe, perhaps, in these boxes. You know, they'd have a few pennies or whatever. Sometimes they were at home. Other times they had them for Sunday school classes. And this was an exciting thing. This is a way for children to participate in mission work, in understanding stewardship for the betterment and the growth of the church, per se. Now, let's look at some of these themes. We saw the children here. This one, which is, again, from the Evangelical Church. It's reflective of children from around the world. If we look here, they're running with the boy. There's different ethnic groups that are on here. Characters, again, we're doing the same thing here. And they're all holding hands while we're going around the world and funding mission work for the children. Now, these children may also take these boxes out into the community and ask for donations. And it worked quite effectively. They raised all sorts of money. Here's a lovely one, again, from the Evangelical Church. Look, they're in the Mideast. They're in Mexico of their work. This one is Korea. This one's in India. This one is an Eskimo. This one's China, and this one is Africa. And we have some more on top. But also, some were made for adults, like this one. And this is called a thank offering. Not necessarily, necessarily for mission work as well. But again, thank offerings were more on the Methodist side, and they were to raise money for missions. And what they did was, they even wrote little skits and plays. What does a mite box do? And they anthropomorphically changed these boxes into something more that could be relatable in the play. For example, the people would dress up in the mite boxes, and you'd have one big box, and then you'd have we talked about the happiness, these themes, sadness and stuff in the one play, and they would put these on, and they would just do this skit and raise more money. What would happen is, usually, it was the beginning of the campaign. It would not be at the end of the campaign, but at the end of the campaign, oftentimes you would have these boxes would be emptied in the front of the church, usually in a larger box that had mission representation as well. People would line up and they would take their turns. It was like sing Marching to Zion, coming up front, opening up your box, throwing it in, and you can hear all the coins hitting each other. And the more coins you got, the more muted the echo came out of the box. And they probably did this on a quarterly basis. And it was done usually in Sunday school openings, which we no longer do in the church. Back in the day, everyone got together in the sanctuary, had a little worship with the Sunday school superintendent, and of course they would go into their Sunday school rooms for their lessons and stuff. Other boxes here that are most interesting, but the one I want to show here is this mission box. This is actually a mite box, and this one's wood. This was probably given to a woman or someone who gave more than just pennies, nickels, and dimes, and probably was a charter member or a life member or what they call director member of the Women's Missionary Society. And this one, you can see the relief. In this case, this is Africa in the front, and it says, "Suffer the little children, come unto me." Education was very much funded by these offerings for mission schools, primary and secondary, and later even colleges. Teach all nations. And we have here, in this case, 4 African children with the missionary woman in a globe. The globe always signifies world missions. This one is probably my favorite one right here, Preach the Gospel. And this one is from India. And you can see here that they are adults, unlike here where we have children, because mission work wasn't just for children. It was also to provide relief and opportunity for indigenous women on the field. That's why hospitals are started. That is why schools are started. And some of these schools became major universities later on in various countries, such as Ewha University in Korea. And of course, money was also raised for Heal the Sick. Now, if you were a deaconess in the church, especially in the Methodist Episcopal's church, the North and South, your deaconess had one of 2 specialties. They were either trained in sociology in order to go into communities and stuff to help and lift up poor communities, or you were trained as a nurse for medical purposes in these mission hospitals, both here and here was deaconess hospitals, and across overseas in the other women's hospitals as well. So they came in different shapes. This one happens to be for young people, pre-teens, early teens. So you don't have the very nice children, because they're not targeting that at this for this, but forget not all his benefits. And again, here we go, the mission band. And may joyful thank offerings I now gladly bring to the world children may know Jesus my King. And this was meant also to fund evangelism. This box, however, is not a mite box, and it was not used for mission work. This is a Joash Chest. Have you ever heard of a Joash Chest? Methodist churches still have Joash chests. I just read about some churches in Alabama and Georgia having Joash offerings. In 2 Kings chapter 12, Joash was king of Israel, and he went by the temple one day and saw how dilapidated the temple had become. And he said to the priests, we need to fix this temple up. Didn't get a very good response. And Joash said, fine, let's take it to the people. And they set out a box or a chest in front of the temple, raised enough money to restore the temple and restoration. So what was a Joash chest for? And by the way, this is from Simpson Grace in Philadelphia. It was to raise money to help repair the church originally. It now has the meaning for financial commitment. If you have a Joash box, you know how we pledge every year in a local Methodist church how much you're going to give. They call that a Joash chest when you come forward and put your pledge up on the altar, usually in a box there, or they will have it going out the sanctuary and stuff. So, missions, and this is for building repairs, but even more so now in the present day to raise money for the church for all purposes.